The girl's name was Daisy. She was once a celebrated war hero, but now she lived under an assumed name in the peaceful Viscount's estate, working as a maid. Her days were spent sweeping the courtyard and tending to the flowers. With only 3 people living in the massive estate, they had to share all the chores. But trouble always seemed to find its way to their door. Baron Feathergale was a persistent nuisance, constantly showing up to harass them, dead set on buying the Viscount's residence, which was rumored to be haunted. As usual, Daisy pretended not to hear him, waiting for the head maid to handle it. "Lord Baron Feathergale, are you here again? How can you say again? That's so rude. I've told you before, this estate is not for sale. Please leave." Before she could finish, the Baron barged inside. "How insolent! I must see the new Viscount, Sconte Westwood, today." The head maid hurried after him. "I'm sorry, but the master is not currently at the residence." But the Baron had come prepared. "This is the 3rd time I've heard that this month. From what I can tell, the only people who come and go are 3 servants. Don't you know people are calling this place a haunted house? I can't stand to see such a beautiful, exquisite manor fall into such disrepair. If my dear friend could see this from the great beyond, he would be heartbroken. Time flies, doesn't it? It's already been 4 years since he died in the magic war. I'm starting to miss him." The head maid had finally had enough. "My Lord Baron, I must ask you to leave at once." He ignored her completely, turning his gaze to Daisy. "You there, the maid. Stop standing around like an idiot and come here." "How long has the new Viscount Westwood been away? 2 years? 3? Daisy spoke softly. "He never left." "Is his health that poor he can't even leave the house?" "He's perfectly healthy," Daisy replied, her voice flat and devoid of any emotion. The Baron cleared his throat to hide his embarrassment. "Your late master was my dearest friend. Before he died, he entrusted me with looking after the new Viscount. I simply want to know if he's doing well." "Everything is fine." For a maid, it was an incredibly rude way to answer. The Baron's patience snapped. He raised his hand. How dare a mere maid be so insolent? Unfortunately for him, he'd picked on the wrong person. Daisy was faster. The sharp crack of a slap echoed through the courtyard, as the Baron was sent spinning a full 360 degrees, before slamming into a wall. "Daisy, didn't I tell you to be patient? Even if you hadn't stepped in, I can handle raccoon-like pests on my own." The Baron's thugs were furious. "Who are you calling a raccoon?" one of them yelled, rolling up his sleeves and marching toward them. Without a word, Daisy knocked him out with one punch, and took care of the other. "I've been patient with you for a long time," she said nonchalantly to the head maid's scolding. "My right hand is just going through a rebellious phase. It doesn't listen to me. I'll be sure to discipline it later." With that, she picked up a shovel. "How about I bury them here?" The head maid stopped her. "Don't say such horrible things. Just leave them in front of the manor. Should I cut off their heads and hang them on the gate?" Daisy finished for her. The head maid looked like she was about to have a breakdown. "No, just prop them up by the entrance. What you did counts as self-defense, so that's enough." So Daisy dumped the men at the front gate. After all, the head maid was her superior, and she was just a maid. She did as she was told. It was a mistake to believe that would be the end of it. Not long after, the Baron sued her for assault and intimidation. This is the story of the hero Ondert, who came back to life 4 years after her death to start a new life. Though she was a woman, she had spent 10 long years on the battlefield in the body of a man. As the Emperor's sword, she had sacrificed her life to protect humanity from the mages who started the magic war, taking down the great archmage Mephisto with her. That was the legend of the hero Ondert. It was also the short but spectacular life of Daisy. You might be wondering how a woman could spend a decade on the battlefield without her identity being discovered. After her younger brother Ondert died defending their homeland, Daisy used ancient magic to transform her body into his, living as him for years until she personally struck down Mephisto. But fate had other plans. 4 years after her life had ended, she was reborn in her original body. Unfortunately, because her soul had collided with Mephisto's, she was left with only 3 years to live. She didn't want her old comrades to see her in this state, a body that could give out at any moment. All she would get was pity and sympathy, and maybe they'd feel the pain of losing her all over again. So Daisy decided to hide her identity and search for a way to extend her life. But she had only just started working as a maid for the Westwood family when trouble found her. A man in black ambushed her, his eyes glowing with a strange blue light. "From this day forward," he said slowly, "you will monitor Viscount Vestwood's movements and report back to me." "Why?" The man in black paused, thinking she was still half asleep. "Hey, if you want to live," his voice trailed off. Daisy flicked him with her finger, knocking him unconscious. She dragged him over and shoved her hand straight into his mouth. Just as she thought, she pulled out a pill. It was the poison the Assassin's Guild gave its members to use if a mission failed. After a bit of questioning, the man told her everything he knew. Someone had hired the guild to use a magical item to force the maids into a vow of obedience and investigate Viscount Vestwood. 2 maids had already disappeared before Daisy. The so-called magical vow was a forbidden curse that used the soul as collateral. If broken, the soul would be utterly destroyed. The man in black begged for his life, swearing he had only forced the vow and had done nothing else. He promised never to show his face again. "If you need it, I can swear a vow of obedience to you." His only answer was a swift chop to the neck. "Not necessary," Daisy said, expressionless, debating whether to get rid of him for good. Remembering the headmaid's lecture from earlier, she decided against it. Her gaze shifted to the empty mansion across the way. "I'll just dump him over there for now." What she didn't expect was for the empty house to have a new owner the very next day. She'd been careless, assuming no one would move in so soon. The man in black from the night before was kneeling in the yard. Behind him, a blue-haired man was staring directly at her and had been for some time. A chill ran down Daisy's spine. How could he have noticed her from so far away? For now, she had to give up on dealing with the assassin. Even more unexpectedly, the man showed up at her doorstep the next day. "Starting today, I'll be your new gardener and cook." His ears were covered in piercings, the kind mages use to wear magical tools. This was how she first met Lou. "Fire him!" Daisy stormed over to the headmaid. "Fire who, yourself?" "No, that suspicious guy," she said, pointing out the window. "Oh, you mean Mr. Lou. He certainly doesn't seem like an ordinary person. That's why he's dangerous. You have to fire him." The headmaid shook her head gently. "It's not good to judge people so quickly. Besides, Daisy, aren't you a special person just like Mr. Lou?" Daisy scowled. How could he be compared to her? What kind of good person with a face like that would come to a noble's house to do manual labor? Worse, the headmaid was clearly smitten with him. "Oh, sorry, I got distracted again." The man chuckled. "It's all right, I understand. It is quite unbelievable that someone as dazzlingly beautiful as myself, I would be a cook in this desolate mansion, tending to a garden that looks like a junkyard. But please, accept reality." He suddenly looked at Daisy. "And who is this?" Daisy gave him a cold look for a few seconds, before spitting out a single word. "Maid." The man feigned surprise. "Your name is Maid? How unique." "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Maid," the maid named Maid. No matter how much she protested, the headmaid insisted on keeping him. Daisy was convinced he was connected to the attacker, but she couldn't say anything. If they asked her why, she might become a suspect herself. She didn't want to lose a stable job that didn't pry into her background. Besides, the headmaid was a shrewd woman. When she heard Lou would work for half pay and even offered to fix the garden at his own expense, she was completely sold. Just as Daisy was considering whether to solve the problem with force, Lou spoke first. "Is there something you want to say to me?" Daisy threw open the window. "Who are you?" "Miss Maid, I believe I just told you. My name is Lou." She vaulted out of the window. "I'm not asking for your name. I'm asking who you are." The man deliberately misunderstood. "Are you trying to get to know me on a deeper level? I don't think we're that close yet." "Stop playing dumb. Who are you and what are you doing here?" Lou suddenly leaned in, whispering so only she could hear, "Because I'm a fan of yours." His warm breath tickled her ear, and Daisy instantly covered it, stepping back. He continued, "You caught someone yesterday and dumped them at my house. It was quite an impressive sight." "So that's why you snuck in here?" "Of course not." Just as she was about to lose it, the man raised his voice and shouted, "Headmaid! This Miss Maid is not only slacking off, she's trying to flirt with me." As she fled back into the house, Daisy cursed him in her head. The man wasn't just suspicious, he was a total snake. With the headmaid around, she had no choice but to let it go for now. Back in the present, after she'd hit Baron Feathergale, he had sued her. But after Lou showed up, the Baron suddenly dropped the charges. Not only that, but her case was transferred to another jurisdiction. The answer was obvious. Did you kill the Baron? Now, Daisy, you can't just say things like that, the man said with a grin. Normally, this is when you should say, it was you who helped me. I'll never forget this kindness. As a token of my gratitude, I will be your servant. Please let me lick your boots, master. That's how it's done. Daisy fought the urge to punch him. The man pushed his luck. Come on, try saying it. After they left, one of the officials spoke up, worried. Are we just letting her go? It's fine. We have orders from above to put the Baron's case on hold and investigate a Daisy Pag. That maid is one of the few survivors from the Queen's Island. He had just cleaned up the mess she made from hitting the Baron, and now he was leaning in with a grin. Looking for a reward? Even a dog knows how to show gratitude. You're not worse than a dog, are you? The girl forced out a single word, thanks. The man clearly wasn't satisfied. A thank you should come with a little more sincerity. By then, the carriage had returned to the Viscount's estate. Daisy looked at the hand Lou offered her but made no move to take it. I don't have any money, she said coldly, jumping down from the carriage and ignoring him once again. Lou wasn't annoyed at all. I don't want money, he explained patiently. Next time something like this happens, I hope you'll use your head first. And if you ever run into a situation where you actually need to dispose of a body, make sure to tell me first. Daisy was already annoyed. This man was a walking secret, and now he was trying to lecture her. Why should I listen to you? Just then, the head maid rushed over, sighing in relief when she saw Daisy was safe. A sudden gurgle broke the silence, and both of them stared at Daisy's stomach. The head maid spoke first. Mr. Lou, it's getting late. Would you mind preparing some dinner? If you're the one asking, of course. Watching the two of them walk away, laughing and talking, Daisy found the man more irritating than ever. To her surprise, however, Lou whipped up a fragrant, delicious stew, using only the simplest ingredients. Her stomach, which had been tortured by the head maid's cooking for days, finally came back to life. We only have potatoes, so I just made something simple. The head maid was amazed. This is the best thing I've eaten in ages. I feel bad for only paying you half a salary. All this praise is going to make my tail wag. If a certain someone had been a little quicker, we could have eaten even sooner. Daisy shoveled food into her mouth. For the sake of a good meal, she'd let it slide. But she hadn't forgotten what was important. What did you do to the Baron? Did you roast him? Or boil him? Why did he drop the charges? Are you a noble with a higher rank than him? I'm curious why you'd think that, Lou chuckled. Though I am, of course, elegant, noble, rich, considerate, handsome, fit, and brilliant, a man of a million virtues. But speaking of which, it turns out you can speak in full sentences. You should do it more often instead of spitting out 1 or 2 words at a time. The delicious food kept Daisy from punching him. The man suddenly held out his own untouched bowl. Want this? She silently took it. After all, the food was innocent. Lou didn't stay long. After saying his goodbyes, he left. Daisy had 2 theories about his identity. 1, he was after Viscount Vestwood, just like the assassin, or 2, he knew about her past. The first she could handle, but the second would be a problem. Her sacrifice in her past life had been her own choice. She could still clearly remember the commander, Raphael, dragging his wounded body and screaming her name. But they had no other choice. Only she could end the war that had drained the nation of its strength and people for 10 years. Lou's presence weighed heavily on her mind. Waking from a nightmare, Daisy decided to take the initiative. But when she went to confront him, she was greeted by the assassin she had subdued before. Miss Maid, I hope I didn't startle you. The master said you'd be coming around this time, and told me to wait here. You've got to be kidding me. This guy is his butler now? The master asked me to pass on a message. Instead of coming to see me in the middle of the night, you'd be better off practicing how to peel potatoes. Even the assassin felt awkward saying it. As expected, it instantly enraged her. He yelped as she grabbed him. I didn't say it. That was the master's exact words. So you're on his side now? Daisy asked coldly. The little assassin, having caught his breath, decided to tempt fate again. You're the one who locked me in here. Have you forgotten already? I guess the master was right. Your memory isn't very good. Wait, don't hit me. I'm staying here willingly. You think I'd believe that? Fine, I just had a change of heart. Isn't it natural for the weak to submit to the strong? You probably don't know, but the master is incredibly powerful and terrifying. This mansion is protected by high-level magic that makes it impossible to spy on, so I figured I'd hide out here for a while. That part surprised Daisy. She hadn't sensed any magic at all. For a high-level assassin to be this terrified of him, her instincts had been right. Daisy silently calculated her chances in a direct confrontation with Lou. It had been too long since she'd held a sword. What are the chances the client is our mistress? The assassin paused. I don't think she's the type to hire the Assassin's Guild. But one thing is for sure, the master is very interested in the Vestwood family. Daisy knew that assassins weren't loyal. He was just doing what he had to do to survive. So he had no reason to lie about this. She held out her hand. Then let's make a deal. We'll share whatever information we get. Why should I? Daisy made a fist. Because of this. Once a week, same time, same place. Under her threat, the assassin knew when to quit. Fine. He hesitated, then added weakly, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. How do you wash a blanket? Even with her new temporary alliance, Daisy didn't stop her investigation. The next day, she approached Lou. Hey, I have something for you. The man took what she handed him, and his eyes went wide. She had given him a written challenge, but he had mistaken it for a confession. He immediately rejected her, claiming he'd received so many he was tired of them. Seeing the murderous look on her face, he changed his tune. Well, seeing as you're so sincere, I suppose I can read it. But I never believe in fate with women I've just met. When he opened it, he realized with embarrassment that it wasn't a love letter at all. Daisy had clearly listed 4 reasons why he was no ordinary person. It gave him 2 choices, cooperate or get out. You think I'm spying on you? You have a serious case of main character syndrome. Little did he know in her eyes, he was the definition of narcissistic and self-centered. Despite his words, Lou stuffed the note in his pocket and started looking for something. He produced an empty flower pot. Please grow a flower in here. As it happens, my identity is a secret shocking enough to stun the world. It would be a waste to just tell you. When you've grown a blooming flower, I'll tell you. Seeing her pout, he offered another option. If you don't want to do that, you can just give me 500 gold coins. Daisy couldn't come up with that much money in 100 years. I'll grow it, she said, annoyed. But you have to keep your promise. A small smile played on Lou's lips. Then I'll be waiting. I can't wait to see what kind of flower you'll grow. The girl glared at him. Are you asking for a broken arm? No romance allowed in the mansion, a voice suddenly interrupted. It's a misunderstanding. The head maid didn't look convinced. We'll see about that. With that, she sent Daisy out to buy groceries for the day. Because of the head maid's meddling, she considered stopping her investigation of Lou. After all, it was all just suspicion. He hadn't done anything out of line. Just then, she saw an old woman sitting in a corner of the street. Her vegetables were far from fresh, but she looked to be in even worse shape. Daisy walked over. 7 potatoes, please. The old woman enthusiastically bagged them, thanking her profusely. After walking away, Daisy noticed the potatoes were sprouting, but she figured with Lou's cooking skills, it wouldn't be a problem. But she had asked for 7, and there were 8 in her basket. Thinking the old woman had made a mistake, she turned back, only to walk right into a shakedown. The old woman clutched the man's pant leg, trembling. I'm just an old woman trying to make a small living. I don't know anything about a union, and I'm not joining. Seeing her resist, the man kneed her. Old hag! If you can't pay the fee, then get out of here. Daisy couldn't take it anymore. That's enough. Do you want me to throw you in a trash can? The man approached her menacingly. A little maid like you wants to meddle? Are you trying to get your legs broken? The old woman urged her to run, but Daisy had already kicked out. A swift kick where it counts. The man crumpled to the ground in pain, cursing her. Her only response was a clean punch. Thug number 1 offline. Daisy beckoned with her finger, and the other 2 men grabbed a trash can and ran for their lives. She learned from the old woman that these men were part of a self-defense group during the Magic War, but had since become thugs who collected protection money. They were even in league with the city guard, so reporting them was useless. She remembered this place used to be a safe haven during the war, a place where people exchanged information and found comfort. How had it become like this? Since she was already looking for clues about the holy relic, she decided she might as well clean up this mess. That night, Daisy walked into their base alone. I'd like to order. The bartender waved her away. We're closed. A man next to him suddenly stared at her. Wait, have I seen you before? When she didn't answer, his tone changed. Why aren't you answering? It's you. The crazy maid who smashed my brother's face in. Daisy realized he was the other thug's brother. The bartender immediately pointed a gun at her. Don't move if you don't want your head blown off. Before he could finish, Daisy grabbed the gun and smashed it. Like this? The bartender was knocked out cold. She looked at the broken gun in her hand, thinking how flimsy it was. The other man charged at her, but against her it was child's play. She cracked her neck. Who's next? The beaten thugs trembled on their knees. Who are you? Daisy smirked, pointing to a painting on the wall. That was me. I once fought with everything I had to save this world. I finally wake up, and what do I see? You people running rampant. On top of that, I have to find something within 3 years, and for that, I need to stay healthy. But you extort vendors, forcing them into corners where their produce can't sell, so it goes bad. If I eat it, I'll get sick. I could even die. To put it simply, your protection racket is killing me. The bartender tried to threaten her. We're with the Bellaridrite. If you touch us, you're making an enemy of the entire organization. Daisy looked at the tavern door. What's a Bellaridrite? The assassin walked in, dragging the 2 thugs who had tried to run. It's an intelligence guild that rose after the war, he explained grimly. An alliance of 13 nations led by the Perota Empire. They're a ruthless organization that will do anything for information and to complete their missions. The identity of their leader is a mystery. Then why are they working with these losers? No, we're under their protection. Here's the proof, he said, pulling out a coin. The assassin took it and examined it. It looks real. The Intelligence Guild thrives on credit and money, so they have a lot of small outposts. It's best not to provoke them. Daisy's eyes lit up. Perfect. An organization with backing is much more useful than a bunch of street thugs. You can use them to hide from your pursuers, and I can use them to gather information. But that's too dangerous. What if we're discovered? If we're discovered, we just get rid of them, right? The assassin was stunned, instantly understanding her plan. All right, you know what to do now, don't you? Of course, Miss Maid. Their first mission was to find the whereabouts of the Eye of Diansecht. Diansecht was a legendary healer said to be able to raise the dead, and the eye was a holy relic he had left behind, rumored to be hidden somewhere in Midwinter. The assassin suddenly spoke up. The master has mentioned that item before. In Lou's bedroom, there was a copy of A Traveler's Guide to Midwinter, with a bookmark on the page describing the Eye of Diansecht. That meant there was likely a clue to the relic's location, right here in the Westwood estate. Daisy, you've been staring at my face for so long. You could at least share your thoughts. Daisy pointed behind her to the flower pot Lou had given her, where she had planted a seed. Lou had been reading a book this whole time. Was it a clue? Her gaze sharpened. The headmaid looked at Lou, confused. Mr. Lou, did you do something to upset Daisy? This? Is it because I'm too handsome? The oblivious headmaid immediately took Lou's side. Daisy, I understand that you're always drawn to Mr. Lou, but have you finished sweeping the entryway? Washing the linens, checking the groceries, and cleaning the hallways? Get to work, or you won't be getting any dinner tonight. Truly the cruelest woman in Midwinter. Lou followed her. Daisy, have you named your flower yet? Why would I name it? Do you even know what kind of flower it is? Is that important? You can't raise a flower like that. Plants need love to grow strong. So you have to give it a name. Of course, if you don't want to know who I am, you don't have to. The task of naming a flower troubled Daisy late into the night. I should probably deal with these guys first. A few minutes ago, 2 more assassins had broken into her bedroom. Just like before, she swiftly knocked them out, tied them up and threw them out the window, planning to dump them on Lou's problem pile again. But just as they landed, she ran right into the headmaid, who was out for a stroll. Daisy, what is this? Who are they? Assassins? Did you take care of them by yourself? Daisy didn't know how to answer, but her silence was misinterpreted by the headmaid. Did you kill them? She asked, then sighed, not pressing any further. Please follow me. Even though the headmaid hadn't said much, Daisy felt a sense of dread. What worried her more was that the headmaid hadn't shown the slightest bit of surprise at seeing assassins. As she was trying to sort through her thoughts, the headmaid spoke. Your arrival here means a great deal to me, Daisy. You're the first person to last more than a week in this mansion. What I mean is, I hope we can continue to work together. She paused. Would you like to meet the master? Of course. Daisy grabbed her hand. Anything to secure her job was a definite yes. The head maid lowered her voice. Before you see him, you must make a vow with me, to never reveal any information about the master. I will cast the spell myself. Is that all right? Daisy nodded. She never would have guessed. The head maid could use magic. Let's begin. As she chanted, a magic circle appeared between her hands. Daisy Pag, do you swear to never reveal any of Vestwood's secrets? I swear. A third magical sigil appeared on her wrist. The head maid was shocked. This isn't your first vow? Vows are carved into the soul. They remain even if the body changes. Even though she had died and been reborn, the marks would always be there. Just like before, the head maid didn't press for details. I won't ask. I'm sure they're all painful memories. All right, let's go in. But when the door opened, Daisy froze. The new Viscount Vestwood was a giant egg. She had seen a lot in her life, but nothing this ridiculous. According to the head maid, the egg had been designated as the heir 4 years ago by Viscount Vestwood himself. It was also the heir to the fortune of the Viscountess's family, the Rosbulls. However, since Earl Rosbull was still alive, the assets were currently frozen. The head maid believed the assassins were after this massive inheritance. But Daisy was skeptical. Earl Rosbull had fought alongside the Sword Saint on the battlefield. Even if his daughter was gone, he would never stand by and let someone target her inheritance. Yet the Viscount's estate was in shambles. She double-checked. The master is inside this egg? I believe so. You can feel a heartbeat when you touch it. And it's gotten bigger. What if a giant rooster hatches out of it? Daisy, don't say such things. The head maid's frantic reaction made Daisy temporarily accept the Viscount in an egg situation. On the bright side, her flower had sprouted. On the downside, she still hadn't thought of a name. With only 3 years left to live, was she really the right person to give it a name? Just then, Lou called her for lunch. She brought the flower pot into the kitchen. I've thought of a name, I'll call it Lou. So you finally admit you're my admirer? Don't get ahead of yourself. I just figured that with your name, even if I'm not around anymore, someone will remember to take care of it. She looked down at the tiny green sprout. What do you think? Do you like the name? I'll take good care of you, but if you get thirsty... Lou burst out laughing. You must really love the name Lou to be kissing the pot. Daisy froze. What is this lunatic talking about? The head maid came to her rescue. All right, let's eat. Mr. Lou, stop teasing Daisy. By the way, Daisy, could you pick up some needles and thread for me later? Lou chimed in. And buy some groceries other than potatoes. To take care of Lou, you need to eat well, Daisy. Daisy blinked. He had a point. The market was unusually lively today. Daisy was wondering if there was a festival when she saw the newspaper headline, Grand Duke Raphael to miss this year's Peace Festival banquet. Looking at the photo in the paper, a rare, soft smile touched Daisy's lips. He hasn't changed a bit in 4 years. She suddenly wondered how everyone was doing. How had the war ended after she died? She had disobeyed orders and left on her own. Did they resent her? And if they did, could they ever forgive her? Raphael had always treated her well, once even saying, if I had a brother, he would be just like you. Her memories with her comrades were precious, and they were the reason she could face death so calmly. But she had also been afraid that if they discovered her true identity, they would reject their entire past together. That was why she had never dared to truly open her heart, always running away. Miss, you should check out the other shops. There are big sales everywhere this week. To celebrate the victory in the magic war, the sewing shop owner recommended with a smile. A man joined the conversation. It's not just because of the festival. The thugs who were bullying us returned all the protection money they'd collected over the last 4 years. I heard some noble benefactor stepped in, to us common folk. That's a real hero. I don't know who it was, but we all want to thank them in person. It was the first time Daisy had ever been praised so directly to her face. She cleared her throat, a little embarrassed, and said her goodbyes. Soon, her newly recruited underlings reported back. They had obtained the Assassin's Guild's contract. The clue to the Eye of the Insect was indeed in the mansion. But the men were acting strangely, all of them looking at her with expectant eyes. Daisy tentatively said, "Good work." They instantly became even more excited. "Yes, Captain, we'll work even harder. Don't call me Captain." When she returned to the mansion, the headmaid saw her and immediately asked, "Daisy, have you ever tried dressing as a man?" She had been a man for 10 years on the battlefield. She had only just gotten her female body back, and now she had to go back to being a man? When the headmaid asked if she'd ever considered dressing as a man, Daisy thought for a second that her decade-long secret was out. It turned out that because Viscount Vestwood couldn't attend the banquet, the headmaid was looking for a stand-in. "As you know, the Viscount is an egg." A light chuckle interrupted her. "I think I just heard something interesting. The reclusive master of Vestwood is an egg?" The headmaid tried to play it off, but Lou had already noticed the magical vow on Daisy's arm. "If you don't trust me, I can make a vow too." He rolled up his sleeve, revealing an arm covered in the same magical sigils. "On top of that, I'll help Daisy prepare for the banquet." The headmaid was stunned. "Mr. Lou, your arm—" "Don't be surprised. This just proves I'm very good at keeping secrets." "How many are there?" About 70 or so. I stopped counting after that." "That's not just crazy. That's practically a public menace. Even someone as experienced as her had never seen anyone with so many vows." But Lou acted as if it were nothing. "So, are you going to tell me now? If you don't, I might start crying." A hard shell. A smooth curve. Lou's lips curved into a smile, and the next second he punched it. "What are you doing?" the headmaid shrieked. Lines appeared on the cracked eggshell, which immediately began to repair itself. I knew it. This perversely twisted sense of humor, and the eye sigil that appears when casting magic. This has Diantek's handiwork written all over it. It's the eye. The headmaid couldn't believe it, still insisting it was the Viscount. "Then let's test it." A magic circle appeared in Lou's hands, and the room was instantly filled with complex formulas. The headmaid instinctively reached out. "I've never seen such a detailed magical analysis." "Of course not. I am, after all, the greatest magical genius of all time," Lou explained. "To put it simply, this magical item is designed to protect the Vestwood family. It will activate a wide area attack spell when there's danger, which means, unfortunately, the Viscount is not inside." The headmaid looked devastated. Daisy could understand. The secret she had protected for years had turned out to be nothing. But in the next moment, the headmaid's attitude completely shifted. "Mr. Lou, where did you learn all this magic? At your age, it should be impossible to reach this level. Every time I try to analyze magic, I lose consciousness." Hopeless, these mages. But what Lou had just done put Daisy on high alert. "You know Diansek, don't you? You just called him that guy." Lou shot back, curious? His reaction was all the confirmation she needed. But Diansek had died before she was even born. If Lou really knew him, it meant he was a monster who could casually use forbidden magic to extend his life. No wonder he's a lunatic. Now that the Viscount's true identity has been revealed, I will help Daisy make her high society debut. I don't doubt your skills, of course, but I'm worried about sending Daisy alone. Then we'll have her attend as a married woman. I'll be the Viscountess Vestwood. In stark contrast to the light-hearted atmosphere at the Viscount's estate, another place was shrouded in gloom. Raphael still couldn't escape the nightmare of 4 years ago. The commander-in-chief is severely wounded, and our supplies are at their limit. We have to go ahead with the plan to assassinate Mephisto. How? Who would volunteer for a suicide mission like that? But even if we can hold Mephisto off, our supplies and medics won't last. The heated argument was cut short, as Raphael dragged his injured body into the tent. Assassination? That's absurd. I will not send any of my men to die alone. The chances of success are minuscule. I will not agree to a gamble with no hope of winning. The atmosphere instantly froze. A cheerful laugh broke the dead silence. Well, look who's alive. I thought a corpse had crawled in here. Looks like the herbs worked. Ondert looked toward the enemy lines, his tone casual. But if I go, we'll have a chance. Ondert! Raphael was furious, grabbing him by the collar. I forbid you from doing this. That's an order! You will stay by my side until this war is over. His only answer was crushing despair, as Ondert's form faded before his eyes once more. The butler had to call his name several times before Raphael woke from the nightmare. Did you have that dream again? He didn't want to talk about it. What is it? An urgent report from the capital. His Majesty the Emperor and the 5 noble consorts have publicly discussed a northern expedition. Because of the North Deus mines? Yes, His Majesty intends to appoint you as the Vanguard General. Raphael scoffed. He's in a hurry to send me to the front lines. Anything else? About a month ago, a survivor was found on the Queen's Island. Her name is Bertie Lucian. She is 170 centimeters tall, with a slender build. She has been attacked twice so far. Raphael frowned. Attacked twice? Is there anything unusual about her? She is currently employed at the Viscount Westwood estate. However, her appearance is remarkably similar to Prince Andert's. Raphael's pupils contracted. But then he remembered Andert was long dead. It was just someone who looked like him. His only sister had also died in the Queen's Island incident. Don't report this kind of information to me again. At that moment, Raphael had no idea that his long-dead friend was not only alive, but not far from him at all. Just a short while ago, Lou had dragged Daisy to a high-end tailor. When she learned it was for a banquet outfit, her first instinct was to run. I'm broke. Don't worry, I have money. And when the head maid heard I was paying, she immediately agreed. He turned to the clerk and reeled off over a dozen outfits for both men and women. Can you have them ready in 15 days? The clerk looked troubled. That might be a little tight. They are for Viscount and Viscountess Westwood. The clerk's expression changed instantly. She shouted to the back, Manager, we have VIPs! You mean you're making clothes for the reclusive Viscount Westwood? I'll come to the residence myself. That won't be necessary. The master is busy and has instructed that someone with a similar build try on the clothes. Daisy, who had been silent the whole time, finally had enough and pulled Lou into a corner. You said you were going to be the Viscountess. Why are you using my measurements? It's easier to cast the transformation magic with a reference. I was thinking of changing you to match my build. Wouldn't that be nice? If Daisy had to borrow a man's body, Andert's was the most practical. No, you're too big in every way. Is that so? Lou suddenly leaned in close. Where? How am I too big? Daisy didn't want to argue. Just make it for someone 1.80 meters with muscular arms and a slim waist. So you like them shorter, he said. The next moment, Lou's 190 frame shrank to 180. With the measurements set, they began trying on clothes. From elegant silk gowns to bold, stunning off-the-shoulder designs, each piece was the picture of femininity. Lou then tried on the men's suits. From the moment they started, the manager's praise never stopped. What a perfect, beautiful couple! It was the first time Daisy had ever experienced how tedious and exhausting a fitting could be. Just then, she spotted a new shop on the corner of the street. Lou looked down at her. Should I buy you some ice cream? Her guard went up instantly. What do you want from me now? Good behavior deserves a reward. Why else do you think we give treats when taming wild animals? Daisy pouted. She wasn't a dog, but she wasn't going to turn down something free. Lou pointed to a spot nearby and told her to wait there. Daisy walked into the shade of a tree and looked up. Her gaze froze. Midwinter National Cemetery. A sense of foreboding washed over her. A voice echoed in her ear. Hey, where are you looking? As if pulled by an unseen force, Daisy walked up the steps and pushed open the cold iron gate of the cemetery. The world spun, and she was thrown back to the battlefield. The roar of cannons assaulted her from all sides, and the screams of the dying tore at her ears. Stay sharp. There are too many of Mephisto's soldiers. Forget about us. Go evacuate the civilians. A man covered in blood dragged his blown-off leg, his hoarse shout pulling her back to reality. She immediately helped him up. What are you talking about? Don't give up! The man's breathing grew weaker. I'm done for. Please tell my mother my last... His voice died, and his hand fell limp. Andert gripped him tightly. Wake up! Don't say that! You'll tell her yourself when the war is over. That's enough, Daisy. The war is over. A familiar voice cut through the chaos. What are you saying? Don't you see the demons on that ridge? Stop standing around and move the wounded. Lou stood a short distance away, his voice calm, but with a hint of pity. There are no wounded here and no demon army. It's over, it's time to come back. The brutal scene around her began to crumble. Daisy stared at him, her voice trembling. Is it really over? Yes, no one else will die, Lou said, casting a calming spell, his voice growing gentler. Let's go home. When Daisy woke up, she was in Lou's house. Her mind was a mess. She couldn't tell if what had just happened was real or an illusion. Lou had made an excuse to the head maid, saying they'd be back late. But that wasn't what Daisy was worried about. "Are you here for Diansect's relic? I believe I said I'd tell you when the flower blooms. I'm just curious. You're a very unusual person after all." "Since you're so curious, let me be clear." Lou's expression turned serious. "Don't develop feelings for me. You'll only get hurt." Daisy thought he was being ridiculous. "When are you going to stop talking nonsense?" "Probably when you lose interest in me." "By the way, does this happen often?" "The hallucination was a first, but I've been having nightmares for the past few days." "Has anything happened recently that might have triggered them?" Daisy was silent for a long time before shaking her head. "Nothing major." "Poor Daisy, you can't even answer that. But nothing like that has happened to me." "No, you've just never realized it," Lou said softly, guiding her. "Let's try a little self-reflection." He placed a hand on her head. "Now close your eyes, let your heart settle, and think. Who are you really?" She had been Daisy Pag. She had been the warrior known as Andert. And long before that she had another name. But neither Daisy nor Andert was truly her. That was why she had never felt a sense of belonging in this world. But now she didn't mind her simple life as a maid. Even with only 3 years left, she wanted to live as Daisy. But she was often haunted by nightmares of the past. The helplessness of losing a comrade. The thrill of suppressing evil. The freedom of breaking her chains. Whether she was fighting as Andert or living as Daisy, every single moment she had experienced had made her who she was today. When Daisy opened her eyes, she was shocked to find that her soul, which had felt like it was about to shatter, was now incredibly stable. What happened? Is this your first time experiencing a state of mind-body union? To put it simply, this is the process of becoming a demigod. A demigod, she thought. Like Mephisto and Diansect? You must be a very skilled swordswoman. Didn't your master ever tell you about the mind-body union? Master? Daisy paused. Every person I met on the battlefield was my master. But how did you know I was a swordswoman? That's a secret. She raised an eyebrow and glared at him. The man's smile widened. I really love the expression you're making right now. I'd love to tease you more. But unfortunately, it's already morning. The head maid had threatened to dock her pay if she was late again. A few days later, as promised, Lou cast the transformation spell on her. She had stunning golden hair and clear blue eyes, with delicate, uncalloused hands. She was pleased with this body. No one would ever connect her to Andert. Her partner was ready as well. Don't be fooled by the beautiful exterior, it was Lou. He had shed his usual carefree demeanor, gently adjusting her collar, but his words were the exact opposite. For now, you're my woman. No flirting with anyone else, you hear me? Wrong, Daisy corrected. I'm your man. A small smile played on Lou's lips. Darling, take a moment to feel, isn't it a little empty down there? It was only then she realized what was wrong. In any case, right now you're neither a man nor a woman, which means you can swing both ways. So you need to be extra careful, understand? And so, Viscount Vestwood, accompanied by his new bride, made his first public appearance. In front of everyone, the crown princess had gotten on one knee and proposed to her. Andert had once promised that if she became the crown princess, he would grant her one wish. He never expected her to publicly propose at her own succession ceremony. If Andert had truly been a man, the union of the Allied forces' strongest mage and swordsman would have been a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, though she had the body of a man, she was a woman. The princess's first love ended before it could even begin. As they neared the capital, Daisy remembered this. I wonder how Natasha is doing. A smile unknowingly graced her lips. This small reaction was caught by his wife beside him. Darling, what are you thinking about? Nothing. Liar, you're thinking about another woman, aren't you? If you mess around, I'll snip off what you don't even have. Daisy shivered. Was this what a terrifying marriage was like? Lou's female form was named Moriane Ciel, the third daughter of an earl from the Northern Continent Union. With her unparalleled beauty, she was the center of attention wherever she went. While they waited for the airship to depart, an attendant led them to a lounge, where a small party was being held. The moment they entered, all eyes were on them. The culprit was obviously the fake woman beside her, but Daisy never expected to run into a former comrade here, Earl Rosbell. who was also the father-in-law of the previous Viscount Westwood. Seeing Daisy staring, Lou quickly prompted her to go and greet him. Daisy brought up the Earl's daughter, saying she had heard many heroic stories about her from her aunt. The Earl, who had always doted on his daughter, finally softened. But when he heard she was already married, his expression darkened again. Rosbell was a stickler for rules and etiquette. In her current identity, Daisy was the nephew of the previous Viscount. Not only had she inherited his daughter's fortune, but she hadn't even informed him of her marriage. It was no wonder the Earl was displeased. My deepest apologies, there were some extenuating circumstances. The Earl didn't press the issue, instead warning her to be careful in the future. After Rosbell left, the other guests at the party approached her one by one as if on cue. By the time the airship finally took off, Daisy was exhausted. She collapsed onto the bed, planning to rest up for the evening banquet. But when she woke up, there was someone else in her arms. "Darling, you're awake?" She shot up from the bed. Lou sat up, yawning. "What's with all the screaming?" "I couldn't sleep. If you keep this up, I'm going to throw you off the airship." "No, we have to sleep separately." "Why should a newlywed couple sleep separately?" "We're pretending, it's not real." Our dear Daisy is so shy she's stuttering. It is annoying to see this man's face. "But you are my dear Viscount, so I'll put up with it." He handed her a piece of paper. "Here's today's schedule." Daisy looked at it. It was filled with eating, drinking, and entertainment. Lou explained that this was the daily life of a noble. They maintained relationships through these events. As it happened, Daisy also wanted to do some investigating. She suspected that the person who sent the assassins after the Westwood family was among the guests at this banquet. The assassination attempts had stopped ever since the Viscount's attendance was announced. The client probably figured they could meet in person, so there was no need for covert action. Lou blinked. "I didn't know my darling was so clever." Daisy gave him a deadpan look. "What's that supposed to mean?" The next moment, a kiss landed on her cheek. "It means have a good day." Daisy stood frozen for a second before he vanished. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. "That lunatic actually kissed me." Just then, two men appeared and greeted her. One was named Yegsi, whose family owned a newspaper, and the other was Walker, whose father was a bank president. Daisy struck up a conversation with them. Suddenly, a commotion erupted from downstairs. The Berkeley family was in the middle of a succession dispute. The ducal house of Berkeley were the guardians of the Pandota Empire. The head of the family was always the strongest in the empire, chosen based on skill, not bloodline. But no matter how strong, they had to be approved by the previous head and the emperor. The current head was the sword saint, Berkeley Grayton. The two currently competing were Jen Berkeley, second in line for succession, and Oster, who was fifth. Two sharp bursts of sword energy collided, creating a powerful gust of wind. "She's better than I imagined." A true genius. Soon, Chen gained the upper hand. Unlike ordinary swordsmen, Jen was a sword demon, one who lived and died for the sword. Though she had a wild temperament, she disdained tricks and schemes. What no one knew was that she was also the leader of the Assassin's Guild. Daisy couldn't understand why someone with a claim to succession would be involved in such an underworld business. A strange sound reached Daisy's ears, and she followed it to the sword in Jen's hand. "Is the sword talking?" The next moment, Jen kicked her opponent to the ground. Is it because she's reached a state of mind-body union that she can hear the sword's voice? Before she could think further, Jen's gaze locked onto hers. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Jen Berkeley. May I have a moment of your time?" Of course, she wasn't going to agree so easily. Mimicking Lou, she replied, "I'm sorry, but I'm a married man. I hope you find the happiness you're looking for." "Miss Jen Berkeley." Daisy was quite pleased with her response. "Don't you think that was a rather gentlemanly way to refuse?" "Gentlemanly? You just dropped a bombshell like that and you can still drink your tea?" "Do you think she's captivated by my handsome face and wants to propose?" "No way. Maybe if she were some debutante desperate to get married, but not Jen. She's a well-known sword fanatic." Daisy could see it too. The look on Jen's face clearly said she wanted a fight. And that's what made her even more suspicious. A sword demon running an assassin's guild was strange enough, but to openly approach a target in public was even bolder. In that case, she might as well play along and be the bait. After that, Daisy spent her days with Yegzi and the others, and her nights playing cards with Lu in their room. During this time, she learned 3 things. 1, Jen Berkeley could never become the Duke, because there was a monster in the family she had never been able to defeat. 2, Yegzi had studied abroad where Morian Ciel's family was from, so she might be able to use his connections to find out why Lu had to use Morian's identity. And 3, besides her, another prominent figure was also searching for Insect's relic. If that were true, there might be other clients involved. Just as the thought crossed her mind, her body instinctively sensed danger. A familiar voice sounded by her ear. "You're holding such a good hand. Why not play it? Are you one of those cautious types?" She had a feeling this day would come, ever since the assassin mentioned the name Berkeley Grayton. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Viscount Westwood. I am Chihar Berkeley Grayton, the Duke." The man before her was not only one of the masters who had taught her swordsmanship, but also a comrade who had fought by her side. The days they had spent entrusting their lives to each other were deeply cherished memories. Even meeting him again like this brought her a great deal of joy. Chihar's attitude seemed warm and friendly, but Daisy clearly caught the flash of killing intent in his eyes. This man was the only person she knew who had reached the level of a swordmaster. Chihar was here for Jen. "My daughter is eager to test her skills against you. I was hoping you might be able to give her some pointers." In that instant, everything became clear. She finally understood why the sword demon was in charge of the Assassin's Guild. The Duke Berkeley Grayton, known as the Emperor's Sword, was bound by a royal treaty and was forbidden from maintaining any private forces. But Jen was not the Duke and was not bound by this treaty. She was Chihar's puppet, allowing him to secretly control the Assassin's Guild. The Sword Saint was both the client and the true master of the organization. She was facing the worst possible opponent. Just then, Yegzi spoke up. "Your Grace, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. Gray is not a swordsman. Just look at his soft, delicate hands." Chihar looked at her. "Is that what you would say as well, Viscount? That because you are not a swordsman, you cannot duel?" A small smile played on Daisy's lips, as she calmly replied, "If you agree to 2 conditions, I will accept your request. First, the duel must be between just myself and Jen, with no spectators. Second, if Jen loses, she will be stripped of her right of succession. After all, regardless of the outcome, no one wants to show their weak side to others. Moreover, I cannot accept someone who loses to a novice like me taking the seat of the Duke." While everyone was shocked by her audacity, Chihar announced, "Jen Berkeley, do you accept the Viscount's conditions for the duel?" Jen stepped forward. "The Viscount's requests are reasonable. I accept." In the dueling arena, Daisy was about to draw her sword when she stopped. Chihar had offered her the sword himself. When she had taken it and thanked him, he had asked, "Have we met somewhere before?" "I don't think so. This is the first time we've met." Something about Chihar offering her the sword felt off. She decided not to use it. "Let's make this simple. If you can force me to draw my sword, you win." Jen was instantly enraged by this slight, her aura turning fierce. Daisy immediately amended her statement. "I take back what I said. If you can make me draw my sword and swing it twice, I lose." "I accept the Viscount's kindness." Jen attacked first. Daisy calmly blocked the attack with her scabbard. That look in her eyes was murderous, but that was all it was. The next moment, the sword was knocked from Jen's hand. After all, Daisy had blocked the Sword Saint's attacks hundreds of times. Before Jen could react, she was hit on the head with the hilt. Next is your ankle, then your wrist. "If I hit you again, you'll not only need crutches, you won't be able to hold a pen for a month." Realizing the vast gap in their skills, Jen stopped struggling. "I will give up my right of succession as promised." "May I ask you a question?" "Go ahead. You can ask 2 if you like." "How can one reach your level at your age?" Jen's gaze was sincere. Even though she had caused her so much trouble, Daisy couldn't bring herself to dislike someone so passionate about the sword. She handed the sword back to Jen. "It's difficult. The reason I was able to grow strong so quickly is because I had a very unique experience and I paid an unimaginable price for it." "What price?" Daisy blinked. "That's a secret." She couldn't exactly tell her she'd died once. "In that case," Jen insisted, "will you take me as your student?" Just a moment ago, she had returned to her room to find Lu, his clothes in disarray, pinning a woman to the floor. "Darling, you're back." When she took a closer look, she saw the woman was already unconscious. Did you kill her? Lu shook his head. Not everyone is as tough as you, Daisy. So you're close enough to knock her out? Are you accusing me of having an affair? I was just joking. Daisy had learned from Natasha that one couldn't use magic while transformed. That meant Lu must have been attacked, forcing him to drop his disguise. Was it an assassination attempt? You got it. Then why did she attack you? A magic circle appeared in Lu's hands. Who knows, why don't we just ask her? Daisy recognized it as a mind control spell. Another type of forbidden magic. Come on, Curious Daisy. Why don't you ask her yourself? Through questioning, Daisy learned that the woman wasn't there to attack Lu, but to monitor the noble council. She had 11 accomplices, and their ultimate goal was to carry out a terrorist attack at the Irigol villa. Meanwhile, Zhen returned to the Sword Saint Chihar. Your expression is not what I expected. The girl's voice was dejected. I'm too ashamed to face you. Chihar drew his sword and examined it. How skilled was the Viscount? Was it a style you recognized or something you've never seen before? Your Grace, since I have failed, I will give up my succession and leave the family as promised. Chihar's voice turned cold. Zhen, I am the head of this house. Promise or not, I will be the one to decide whether you can leave. After I have my answer, I'll ask you one more time, how was the Viscount's swordsmanship? I don't know. The Viscount never drew his sword. Zhen didn't lie. And she was the most obedient of the heirs. She had always known her place, and had never competed with Garrosh. It was because of her reliability that he had entrusted the guild to her. But now, the ever-obedient Zhen was deliberately avoiding his question. He was certain something else had happened between them. A swordsman always left a mark on a blade they held, but the returned sword showed nothing. It seems the only way to get the relic is to go after Viscount Vestwood himself. There was one other thing that bothered him. It was the first time they had met, yet there was a strange sense of familiarity. For now, Chihar decided against eliminating the Viscount. Of course, he wouldn't wait too long. He had to have Diansect's relic. With that, he offered a condition to Zhen before she left the family. Irigol Villa was a century-old classical mansion, situated on the shore of the beautiful Lake Lagarde. Daisy should have been relaxing, but a strange sense of unease lingered. She was about to go out and investigate when Lu stopped her. Where are you going? Just going to take a quick look around. Don't. Just rest. I understand your anxiety, but that's when you need rest the most. You've barely slept recently. If you keep pushing yourself, the nightmares and hallucinations will come back. Darling, when have I ever been wrong? Seeing him back in his original form, Daisy's face fell. Don't call me darling with that face. Lu pushed his luck. If you don't lie down, I'll keep doing it. Defeated, she had no choice but to listen. She hated to admit it. But Lu had a point. With a powerful sword saint, as well as Zhen and Rosbel here, things would surely be resolved. Wait, don't take it off. The transformation will break if you remove the ring. Besides, you should cherish our wedding ring more. Daisy snapped, You're one to talk, Mr. Do Whatever Want. As a husband, I can't just criticize my wife. That would be a very unhappy marriage. Maybe I should go have a good cry with Earl Rosbel. Daisy was completely helpless against him. Fine, I won't take it off, just let go of me. The last thing she wanted was a lecture from that old traditionalist. When Daisy woke up, in the middle of the night, she realized the area was filled with mental magic traps. It was a common interference spell, used by Mephisto's followers during the Magic War, designed to trap anyone who entered in a deep illusion. It seemed the terrorist attack had begun. Fortunately, Lu had taken precautions, and their bedroom was not part of the trap. If the other nobles were all trapped in illusions, even the Sword Saint would have a hard time acting. And when a person was in an illusion, their mental fortitude weakened. This was the perfect opportunity to investigate Diansect's relic. With that thought, Daisy broke her transformation. Even if the Sword Saint found her in her maid uniform, he wouldn't connect her to Ondert. Without hesitation, she stepped into the mental trap. Piercing screams for help echoed around her. Please save me, Ondert! Please help me! The illusion was strong, but it was nowhere near enough to be a threat to her. She ignored the phantoms and looked ahead. Now let's start with this one. Let her save these poor trapped lambs. Walker had lived his whole life under the thumb of his parents, who, like many incompetent parents, had projected all their own desires onto their child. No matter what Walker did, he was met with nothing but endless verbal abuse, which had become his trigger. After being repeatedly tormented in the mental trap, a person could become numb and catatonic, or in severe cases, be left in a vegetative state. The easiest way to break an illusion was with a physical attack, quick, effective, and with no side effects. Walker grabbed her shoulders. Yegsy, what are you doing? Daisy chuckled. Do I look like Yegsy? Of course you are, Yegsy. To escape a mental trap, one needed an exit, which often took the form of something that brought a sense of security. The fact that Walker saw her as Yegsy meant Yegsy was very important to him. As for my own exit, he hasn't shown up today. He's usually so annoying. Walker, do you want to be free from your parents? Walker nodded. Then let me tell you a story. A long time ago, I had a friend with over a dozen siblings, and every single one of them wanted to use her as a political pawn. She was forced to meet dozens of men for arranged marriages. It went on until she finally snapped. From that day on, she took a vicious, biting dog with her everywhere she went. Eventually, her father had to step in and warn everyone to stop bothering her. And that's how my friend won her freedom, so you should do the same. Wait, Yegsy! What are you talking about? I don't want to go that far and worry my parents. If I did that, my mother would faint. As his anxiety grew, the illusions around him began to coalesce again. Walker, the important thing is to express your wishes to your parents, no matter how you do it. You don't have to be as extreme as my friend. As she spoke, a faint glow enveloped Walker, a sign that he was about to wake up. But Daisy had one more question. She grabbed him. Do you know who else is looking for Diansek's relic? Isn't it Duke Berkeley? And Roki from the Northern Continent Union and Duke Janelle? Daisy froze. Raphael was also looking for Diansek's relic? Why? The relic was used to cure incurable diseases. Was his time running out just like hers? Just then, a small hand tugged at her. I finally found you. It's time to go. Daisy's exit was her childhood self. She had been so careful, but she had fallen into the trap after all. But something was strange. In the past, her exit would always be cowering in fear, not just standing there blankly. What is it? Didn't you hear me? Daisy was confused. Was this not her exit, but her trigger? Back when she was Undert, her triggers were always Mephisto or her fallen comrades. The little girl urged her again. Why aren't you answering? Don't you want to get out of here? Her suspicion grew stronger. Daisy scooped up the little girl. Who are you? The little girl had asked her a question. Think about it. What is your real trigger? In a world filled with screams and curses, the people she couldn't save had become the trigger that tormented her. But why was her exit her childhood self? The little girl answered her question. Your trigger is the act of saving people itself. Because unlike a war hero, a helpless little girl is allowed to fail to save them. Realizing this for the first time, Daisy blushed. Unlike adults, children have the right to be afraid. They can choose to run, or even disappear completely. But you've always forced yourself to carry that heavy burden. You don't have to force yourself to do the impossible, and you certainly don't have to be ashamed of it. Instead of blaming yourself, you should have a little compassion for the person who has been worn down by all that responsibility. Try to listen to the voice you've ignored for so long, and scold the part of you that saw sacrifice as a given. As she spoke, the little girl's voice began to change. So, do I still look like your childhood self now? Daisy? Daisy was so embarrassed she wanted to disappear. Her mental exit had taken on Lou's form. Had she become this dependent on him, without even realizing it? Lou didn't give her much time to dwell on it. The mind-body union is just the first step. It's not enough to truly see yourself. It's more real to touch and feel it like this. Daisy finally looked up at him. Was he trying to comfort her after that shock? It was a shock to be sure, but not nearly as shocking as the fact that he was her mental exit. Lou held out his hand. So just admit it. Today was one of the few lucky moments in your life. Accept the fact that you can be vulnerable too. Daisy found it hard to believe, but she took his hand. You think I'm vulnerable? Of course. The flower named Lou. And you're both equally fragile in my eyes. In the entire world, he was probably the only person who would think she was fragile. And so far, he was the only one who could see her weaknesses and give her advice. She had to admit it. Lou was her exit. When Daisy woke up, it was all over. Lou had carried her back to the room. Someone was disturbing my reading last night, so I went for a walk by the lake. Daisy thought to herself, You mean you went to go twist their heads off? Lou continued calmly. But then a massive airship descended from the sky and cleared the area in an instant. And the person who arrived was none other than... Daisy followed Lou's gaze out the window, where a crowd had already gathered. A frantic knock came at the door. The moment it opened, the person on the other side spoke urgently. "Gray, are you okay? Wait, who are you?" Luckily, Lou had already changed back into his female form. "My husband is busy at the moment." The situation was a little awkward. The men quickly explained, "As long as you're all right, there was a terrorist attack here last night, but it's safe now. The strongest hero of Pandota, Grand Duke Raphael de Janelle, has arrived. A short while ago, when Daisy heard Raphael was coming, she thought she would be a mess. But when the moment actually came, she was surprisingly calm. Perhaps she was confident he would never recognize her." Yegsy had been looking for Viscount Westwood. Lou playfully teased. "Who knows? He even took off his wedding ring. He's probably off having fun somewhere. When he gets back, I'm going to have to teach him a lesson." Seeing the conversation was getting weird, Daisy quickly stepped in. "The master is ill. It's a lingering effect from his duel with Miss Berkeley." "Is that so? But I heard Viscount Westwood won that duel quite easily." "But he was injured." Just as Yegsy insisted on seeing the Viscount, a deep voice interrupted them. "Westwood." It was Raphael. Almost instantly, his crimson eyes locked onto Daisy. The moment their gazes met, Daisy's heart began to pound uncontrollably. She was wrong. All that talk about not feeling anything was a complete lie. Because right now, she had no idea how to handle this situation. As Raphael's gaze remained fixed on her, a chill ran down her spine. Does he recognize me? And why does he look so unwell? She was the one who had betrayed his trust, who had insisted on walking into a death trap alone. Her choice had all but negated their entire past. If someone like that suddenly reappeared 4 years later, alive, anyone would be angry. She didn't want to see disappointment or anger on Raphael's face, and she didn't want to be a source of awkwardness for him. It was better to just pretend they didn't know each other. That would be for the best. Lou suddenly snapped open his fan, blocking their intertwined gazes. "It's rude to stare at a woman. Please avert your eyes. I dislike it when others covet what is mine." "Surely you're not so ill-mannered." Raphael finally tore his eyes away from Daisy. "You must be the Viscountess Westwood? I hear you're from the northern continent." Lou blinked. "Was one not enough for you? Now you're trying to test me too?" As the atmosphere grew more tense, Yegsy, the only one who was relatively calm, tried to smooth things over. But the moment he opened his mouth, the air around Raphael turned ice cold. "Move! Who do you think you're blocking?" Yegsy quickly explained that he was a friend of Viscount Westwood. "That's enough," Lou cut in. "This is why I find being petite so inconvenient. There are always some overconfident men trying to protect me." Seeing Lou repeatedly provoke Raphael, Daisy thought he had lost his mind. She secretly tugged on his sleeve and shook her head. Lou finally backed down. Taking advantage of the brief silence, Raphael calmly introduced himself. "My apologies for the intrusion and the misunderstanding, my lady. I am Raphael de Janelle, the head of security for the southern region of the Empire, in charge of protecting and monitoring post-war survivors. The maid beside you bears a striking resemblance to one such survivor. Am I correct, Miss Bertie Lucian?" That was the name Daisy had borrowed from a friend who had died in an attack by Mephisto in order to escape the Queen's Island. She had cooperated with the initial investigation. Why were they investigating her again now? Lou scoffed. "And? I think you have the wrong person. My maid's name is Daisy, not some southern survivor." But Raphael didn't back down. "There's no need to be so defensive, my lady. This is just a routine follow-up investigation. If we confirm she is not the same person, we will immediately cease and come to offer our apologies. So I must ask for your cooperation, Viscountess Westwood and Miss Daisy." Not far away, the Sword Saint stood silently, his gaze deep as he watched them.